Dennis Dorset, lead vocalist and lead guitarist, co-founder of Epic Death.
My name is Alex Costa, a guitarist from Epic Death.
I'm Becky Dorset, and I am the keyboard player for Epic Death.
Justin, I'm the bass player, backup vocals.
My name is Reese Stanley. I am the drummer and background vocalist of Epic Death.
I would describe us as like a band that, as far as the content in which we write about, the very, like the macabre, the witchcrafts, the Vikings, especially on this album, we take different levels of history and bring them forward.
I would say have a little of everything, the metal, black metals, kind of progressive. Always I just say metal.
With the keyboards and all the parts and stuff, I kind of would classify us as a symphonic heavy metal band, honestly.
Energetic. So symphonic metal covers some of it, but because of our influences, there's thrash, there's death, there's progressive. It encompasses a bunch of different genres under metal, so a lot of times we just say that we're heavy metal.
We're metal. I mean, we do what we want. So there's a lot of stuff in our music that some people might not expect to hear. A lot of us describe us as like symphonic death metal.
One of our biggest influences, at least mine and Dennis's, has been either Cradle of Filth or even as far back as Slayer. We also, we listen to a lot of different music, and it's not just metal. So we bring stuff in, from other genres as well.
The Seer, we have decided to go into the Viking Norse lore. There's a whole lot of storytelling that goes along with the myths and everything, and so that kind of played its part in the way that we wrote it. I grew up, cut my teeth on Death itself, Slayer, Obituary, and then whenever some of the more modern stuff like Dimmu, Cradle of Filth, that stuff kind of mixed together with me because I always have been a really big fan of like horror movies and stuff like that, and for me that was a really strong aspect to bring into the music as we was making it our own. One of us will have an idea, we'll bring it to the rest of the band, see where it sticks, if everybody likes it, if we go forward with it, we play it together. Somebody else might have another part that they, oh wow, you know what, that'll go with this that I was working on. They just start forming, and we kind of go off a feeling with each other. We've been playing together enough. We can almost feel when one of us is fixing to change to a certain part or a certain way. And so we kind of play off each other like that. And that's a lot of how some of our music gets written.
The other aspect which happened in the song Warrior was we were actually practicing at Becky and Dennis's house in Dallas. And we got a tornado warning, and that's where that whole song came from, was us having to hide inside the center of a house, and it just came to me, like that center section, and then it just fleshed out from there. So a lot of times it's not only environmental inspiration, it's also, just what we want to hear.
When we write, we not pretend to sound like any other band. Pretty much it's go by feeling and what the emotions that we have in that time. Sometimes Justin come out with something, or Becky, or Dennis, or anybody in the band, and put a little part they have in his heart, and right away it's like a click in one of us, sometimes click on me, on Justin, it's just, oh crap, and I start to just let it flow. We do not pretend to sound like anybody. I mean, we just go whatever is in our heart in that moment is how express ourselves. And the process to make something, we try to tell a story, not just chord verse, chord verse, chorus.
I think everybody brings their own style and flavor into what they're writing, and when we do it, it's very fluid. I kind of referenced something Elton John said many moons ago. If he starts writing a song, it's not written in 30 minutes, he kind of throws it out the window. But we really feel, when we're writing something, and we really feel, hey, this is going in the right direction. And we don't tend to, hey, this is a chorus, this is a verse, this is whatever. We kind of, just everything's kind of fluid, and then we kind of start putting parts together.
Dennis will come up with the lyrics, and that's really, once the lyrics hit, we know where we're going at that point. Until then, we're working together to create something amazing.
There's so much different age ranges in this group, and so many different influences of different metals. Also, the fact Alex and Mateus being from South America, that has its own inspirations. And so I feel like we never ignored any one of the inspirations between us.
Honestly, I wait for them to finish what they're going to write. And then I find my voice and add to it as we go. And it changes from time to time. It'll take a song from very harsh to bringing in some more emotion. It's almost like putting sprinkles on a cake is what it is. It's like sprinkles on a cake. It just gives you that last bit of sweetness.
We explored a lot of new strategies on how we accomplish the Seer. As a whole, all of us progressed and stepped up and probably went an extra level compared to where we were before we started the Seer.
It's definitely an evolution of our sound. I don't think we would veer too much from what we're doing just because it's natural to us. But it's always, like I said, it's an evolution of our sound, but I would say it's kind of both. You know, we're kind of stair-stepping to the next, you know.
I don't consider this an evolution. The reason why, because both are one completely different in a sense, you know. For me, Witchcraft is a really badass album, and the Seer is just another kind of, we implemented another things. It's amazing. It's a huge step forward. I will not compare it with the other album. It's just different feelings.
It definitely is an evolution since Witchcraft. Something that got stuck in my head that I remember Dennis saying not when I joined on, but when we started writing a new album, was that he wanted to make it big. And he wanted it to be able to be played in a big amphitheater versus just these small clubs. So we definitely rolled with that. And then Becky coming in with her keyboard parts helped it express even farther. Witchcraft does go wide, but this one feels like we went even wider with it. I like the cinematic experience on my albums these days, so I feel like that's where we're headed.
I think it's a little bit of both. With Witchcraft, at that time, it was basically me, him, and Reese that recorded. But with this one, it was a collective, writing. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think, there's definitely an evolution to the music, but we're also the type of band that just because we gave you the Seer doesn't mean that the next album is going to be like the Seer.
I think sometimes it calls for that. Sometimes it does sound better when other people are doing a contrasting as opposed to what I'm doing. Like if I'm doing a clean, then maybe Justin or Reese is doing a dirty. Maybe they're doing a clean and then I turn around and I back them up with some real low gutturals or something real high and screaming. I really like the contrast of doing it like that. For me, it's fun. It's fun. In certain parts, I really feel it. I'll feel like I need to put a real high part here, or I need to go real low there. And for me, that's just the emotion of the song. And so I'm able to, as a front man, I really need to be able to focus on that. I mean, it is really a rush. I don't think anything can compare with it.
Long time ago, my older daughter is 23 now. One time she told me, "Dad, you think that you are old for this?" And I was saying, "Old? What do you mean old? When you have something in your heart and you want to try to make something with it, just keep on going no matter what. You never give up. Just keep on going. You're going to fall down 3,000 times, but also you're going to stand up 3,000 times." Now she's 23. My dad is 47 now I am, and he never give up.
It may not be what you do for a living, but don't give up on it.
It's my daughter. She's 25 years old. When she was little, I used to play all the music that I was in, and she's really excited for me. The progressive that I've made through the years.
Even before Dennis and I got together, my kids were always going to shows with me. So I raised metalheads. My girls are now in their 30s, and their kids, my grandchildren, think that it's so cool that I'm in a metal band. They wear the t-shirts to school. They tell their friends. We've got like 13, 14-year-old kids that go listen to our stuff because one of our grandkids said, "Hey, you got to check this out." But they love it. And, you know, they were brought up going to shows. And as they got older, when things got in the way, life, and they couldn't go to shows, they were actually pretty bummed.
My kids love it. My kids love the fact that they're like, yeah, that's my dad. He sings for Epic Death, you know, and plays guitar. And, you know, they get a kick out of it, you know. They've been around. They were going to shows when they were real little. My youngest son is 20 now, and he used to go to shows. He'd wear like a Voorhees mask, and he's like 2 feet tall at the front of the stage, and have like surrounded by basically bodyguards watching him so he could hang out and watch, you know, a metal show, you know. And he'd show up at the jam room and be wearing range muffs so that it didn't damage his ears, you know. But he just would sit there and play his video games, and he loved hanging out, you know, and all the kids liked it. So they definitely know that we're different. We're cut different than a lot of other dads.
I get asked a lot in my day job, how do you do this and that at the same time? And music's what I've always loved. You know, I've grown up. My older brother was a musician, and we just kind of grew up together playing music throughout the years ever since I was 11 years old. And so it's something I love to do. You know, it's never been hard for me to continue this when doing a day job at the same time.
As a whole, it was really good experience. We have camaraderie that a lot of bands they say they have, but I don't really see it. But we're more like a family when we get together. Even members that are not in the band anymore, good people to work with. Yeah, as a whole, it was just a kind of a family experience. You know, we're one of those bands. You know, we greet each other with a hug, hang out before we touch our guitars, and see how each other's doing mentally, physically. That just kind of, then when we play together, it just makes it even tighter and better.
We all work like as a team, and we try to put the best of us. And I never judge anybody, or I never tell anybody what you need to do. Just enjoy it. If you cannot enjoy it, then it just doesn't work.
Becky and Dennis, I've known them for going on 20 plus years. Dennis has always been a really good songwriter, very good vocalist, very strong. I would say this, I was never big into black metal and death metal, and he was the only one I could ever understand. So they asked me to join in 2012, Epic Death, I believe. At first I was a little, I was like hesitant. Going into it just felt natural. Like I said, I've known him for so long. Becky's a really good, rock when it comes to the band. She's very focused on what she wants, and so it's been fun going that route with her. And then bringing in Justin, he's become one of my best friends just because we click together, and between the drums and the bass. And then Alex again, he's a good guy. He's a phenomenal guitar player for a guy who's only been playing guitar going on 5 years. I mean, he amazes me, and I've been playing music, like I said, since I was 11 years old.
All these guys and gals are great people, and we're all friends. I really appreciate the fact that we are all so open to each other's ideas. A lot of bands I've been in, it's been as a bass player, do what I tell you, not what you want to do, but not all the bands I've been in. But this one's definitely given me the opportunity to just kind of fly with it and be free. And I think I personally let that back to everyone else too. And I think everyone feels that and feeds that. I don't mind backing tracks, but I definitely, when I see bands today, 4 people, a guitar, bass player, singer, and drummer, and then they sound like they're playing to a Hollywood movie score, it feels not genuine to me. So I feel like with this, the amount of samples that we actually have are more like sprinklings on top of the cake, so to speak. It's not something that will... I feel like it wouldn't be missed if we had to do a show and the soundboard couldn't take the backing tracks or anything like that. I don't think the audience would miss as much as, say, with other bands, that it has to be there or else they don't sound the same.
I think on a couple of songs we switched out the snare drum because that other snare for the slower songs gave it more a deep, rich, hit as opposed to the metal drum that I used. Different tonalities and how we would place everything. I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, there's something we wanted to do in this album is have a lot of, I guess for lack of a better term, eclectic kind of sound in the background with the gong bass that we used, the bongos we used, and stuff like that. Just some of the background stuff. It was very interesting to do. It was very something that I've always wanted to do, and just kind of throw in different pieces in. Just kind of expand upon just what's behind the kit. The very first song we wrote on this album was Freya's Fire, and there was a middle section that's very tribal. Going into it, like I said, it wasn't intentional, but it really, had made that song more fluid. Then kind of going through the songs, after that, it kind of just like, well, this kind of sounds in that vein. Let's continue this motif, I guess. On this album in particular, when Alex, wrote, I would say, 80 to 90% of the guitar parts. So he, we just, had that same, and I think he had that same mentality throughout every song we went. For whatever reason, I think it's just natural for us, because even our previous album, we weren't trying to follow a motif, but it kind of went that direction. It was challenging and fun.
It's definitely what works, especially when recording, because recording, every little thing is heard. All around me, swirling with your ear. And even if you're kind of buried along 20 other tracks, it is still there. So the aspect of the clank versus the attack of the pick, those are they make differences, and also in some spots it's required. I mean, I actually have a pick holder now on my bass just for certain pieces in this band and in other bands, where if this section needs a pick, I just grab it and I go.
So I think with the other production elements, it filled the space that I couldn't come up with. It helped me go, oh, yeah, I should have done that, or I should have used that bell there, or so it makes the song fuller. It's a more full feeling. It's a more complete feeling now that there's the extra little added nuances underneath.
Yeah, I think that is it's a big benefit. You want that whole roller coaster. You want the ups and the downs. I don't know who's all watching this, but if it was a romantic movie and it was all orgasm just constantly, even the orgasm would get old and boring. So you want that build up, you want that foreplay, and every now and then you want the horror, or you want you want romance, or you want horror. Almost like you want this album to be alive. Without the darkness, you'll never see the light, or vice versa. All of it was really, really unique. The gang vocals was pretty unique.
You fight or you die! You fight or you die! You fight or you die!
The tracking, everything was really unique. I don't think I've done things the way that I've done them here anywhere else. Doing that many tracks, I've never done that many tracks ever. And the gang vocal in this room, when we did that was phenomenal. I've never seen that. Unless you're in like in Hollywood or something, you're not going to see that. So.
The recording and stuff has always been fun for me. So, but yeah, the next step is just as hard, if not harder.
We're actually working with Metal Devastation PR, and they're going to help push it. In fact, they're giving us a year worth of PR, and we're going to release the CD, and we're going to release videos, and we're going to push it as far as we can.
My name is Brad Lambert, and I produced this latest record for the band Epic Death here in my studio. So I think this is a unique record in that I do a lot of things where the songs might follow a relatively traditional style, whether that's for pop records or rock music or things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some of the best songs of all time are written in that way. This is a very progressive record. I think a uniqueness of it is that when I got the songs and we started tracking, the band had kind of brought them to a place, and fortunately in the process they allowed some leeway with me to continue to develop them even as we were tracking. I would say these songs kind of continuously evolved from the first downbeat all the way until the final mix. That's probably my favorite aspect of it. And then in general, just getting to work on something that has so many different styles of metal infused in it. I work on a lot of metal records too, but this has so many different aspects from so many different genres. And you really see that it all kind of fits together pretty organically. They're not going for any one thing. It just seems like as a band, they kind of write things very organically, where they bring all of their different influences together and it just kind of works. Editing. Editing. So I would say one of the challenges you deal with records like this, where there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of very fast playing, a lot of high gain, a lot of samples for different production elements. There's a lot of things that have to be very controlled, and a lot of, whether that's, simple like muting certain things, or going hit by hit or pick stroke by pick stroke. And these songs also have multiple tempo changes. So it's not as simple as just like breezing through the song and kind of making sure, all right, everything seems to be lined up generally well. You really have to put the time in. And then not only that, everything in the mix requires its own sonic space. So there's again, between the keys, the two guitars, guitar solos, the layers and layers of vocals, the drums, the added percussion, all of these things, finding everything a nice home to sit in the mix clear can be a challenge. And then additionally, when I say editing, I don't just mean because we're slam quantize editing everything to hell. What I mean is, because there's plenty of people who do that, it's editing things in a way where you're still preserving all of the human elements of what's being done, and just representing the song as best as possible. There was like a bit of like chaos and travel and things going on, and I think not only just the band's lives, but also my own. If I had to do it in a perfect world, we lock ourselves in a dungeon for, probably 3 straight months and bang this thing out. Also, at the same time though, like we also kind of just kept it together and plowed through and like kept moving forward. But other than that, the struggle is part of it as well. So it's hard to say. A cinematic metal experience filled with storytelling and a wide palette of sound, but all at the same time presented in a very visceral and intense way. That's the best you're going to get out of me, I think, on that one. People are just going to have to listen to this thing to figure that out. This has been a presentation for Epic Death about their upcoming record, the Seer. You should all go listen to it. It's a badass metal record. For people who aren't even into metal, this is definitely a great gateway to get into the genre. I would say for fans of anything and everything metal, for fans of even thematically fans of like Viking lore, and honestly for fans of movie genres that kind of deal with those things as well. So go buy it and go to their shows. For those who want to, come and record.
I'm Dennis from Epic Death. I hope you enjoy this album, The Seer. We've worked really hard on it. I know it's been a while, but it's going to be worth it. I'll see you.